went live.
All right. Preparing to live stream the meeting. All right. I believe that we are live.
Woo!
So we are excited to be with all of you today. What is up? 5979. You may notice that we look just a little bit different. So we're excited to have the ladies talking today. And we are going to be talking about a topic near and dear to each one of our hearts. Let me just introduce our fabulous panel real quick so that you guys know who is with us today. In case you don't know, we have the fabulous Miss Sabrina.
Hi, guys.
She is, in case you didn't know, she is married to Pastor Tony, our awesome Pastor Tony. So we are so excited to have her. And we have Miss Erin. And she is, yeah, and she is married to Pastor Daniel, in case you didn't know. So we are pumped to have the ladies with us today for a topic that is we're gonna have some fun. Now, I wanna remind all of you guys that we have some questions because all of our fabulous staff guys came up with them. But any questions you have, specifically the ladies, guys, you're welcome to ask questions and comment as well. And you're certainly welcome to be here because this matters to your life as well. But ladies, we'd love your questions. So please keep them coming because today we are talking about what it means to be a woman of God. What does that look like in the day and age that we live in? And how does that play out in daily life? So we're excited. So we're going to get started with that. Before we get into all of our questions, just Miss Erin, would you tell us just in your own words, just take a minute and tell us what does it mean to be a woman of God?
For me, it doesn't look much different than being a man of God. I think there's a lot of people that assume that if you're a woman of God is totally different than being a man of God, when it's actually just the same. It's just you're a girl versus a guy. Right. So like for me, it's just being humble, serving, reading the Bible, loving one another, and just, going after God, just like any other man would do the same.
Awesome. Well put. Perfect. Miss Sabrina, your thoughts. What does it mean to be a woman of God?
A woman of God, to me, is standing out for the right reasons. We are different because we believe that Jesus died for our sins and that we are to spread his word. So that makes us a little different. And I know with teenagers, the goal is to fit in, but God wants us to stand out and share his love and share his glory in ways that, the world may think is a little odd, but at the same time, it brings so much love to Jesus' name.
Awesome. Perfect descriptions from both of you guys. Exactly. Erin, it really, like you said, Miss Erin, it's just a follower of Christ, whether you're male or female. And Miss Sabrina, standing out and for the right reasons. I love that. To me, it's just that you're committed wholly. Pastor Stefan preached a message years ago that he just said one phrase that has always stuck with me. He said, it's not Jesus plus, it's Jesus period. So it's not, I want a little bit of this, I want a little bit of this, I want a little bit of this, and some Jesus on the side. I want Jesus, period. He's everything, and all the other things fall into place. And so for me, that's what I see as a follower of Christ. And specifically, of course, we're talking about women. But I love, we all know this from, back in the day, we didn't used to have last names. It would be Sabrina of Kenneth, it'd be like your father's name, or it would be the city that you lived in, Micheline of Kennesaw. And so your identity was really wrapped up in that little phrase that came afterwards. I wouldn't know Sabrina, but I would know Kenneth. So I would know who she is just by knowing that follow-up. So just that little preposition of packs a huge punch, because here we're saying women of God. So, okay, women, that's great, whatever, but it's the of God, and that is completely my identity, completely my purpose, my passion. Everything is wrapped up in that phrase of God. So for me, a person of God, a follower of God, a woman of God, a man of God, that is what it means. So we're gonna get into some great questions. I want to say hi Hannah. Hi, Marini, and hi, of course, our awesome guys, our staff fellas. So we're gonna get into the first question again, ladies. Keep those questions coming if you have any. And as we continue to talk, because we would love to dialogue with you, not just at you. One of the guys asked the question, what is the biggest obstacle you had to overcome to be the woman God has called you to be? And that is a great question. So, Miss Sabrina, would you tell us what is the biggest obstacle that you've had to overcome to be the woman God has called you to be?
Well, for me, and sometimes, a lot of times, I still struggle with this, is comparison. Social media has exemplified how we compare ourselves. Whether it's I'm looking on social media, I'm seeing other people doing things that, man, I have not reached that goal yet, or man, they look this way. And even on the opposite spectrum, where I'm like, well, I'm doing better than that person. Oh, I'm way better than that, and that's just as bad. But definitely, it's this all kind of started out with me comparing myself to my older sister, growing up. So that started for me at a very, very young age, and social media has just made it even bigger. But growing up, it was one of those, like, I would look at my sister and she was the athletic one. She had more guys going after her versus me. I was pretty awkward and didn't really have a whole lot of male fan base, let's just say that. And
Just takes
always
the
looking,
right one.
and looking at her, it was just, it was like I would get jealous and envious and be like, I'm just not as good. And God really had to nip that in the bud for me, because it brought on a lot of depression and anxiety. So this was something that when I do struggle with it with social media, I have to remember, and that God made me a woman of God, and that I have to be grateful for, so many things to be thankful for, that I don't need to compare anymore.
That's awesome. And I think that is extremely real for so many people, and definitely specifically women, that comparison, and we it's an ugly thing, because like you said, there's no win. You're either coming out on top so that you're all full of yourself, or you're coming out lower and then you're just discouraged. So absolutely, that is a great obstacle to overcome. And like you also said, which was super positive, powerful, that we aren't magically the women of God that, like we've arrived. None of the three of us would, and nobody would say that. I don't care how old you are. We are always striving to be more the woman of God He's called us to be. So there's always those things, obstacles along the way that you will continue to face and continue to, jump over the hurdles, if you will. But definitely there are ones specifically for our young people watching that, that you have to overcome to be the woman of God that He is calling you to be. And for me, in my teenage years, I would say that it was really kind of the crossroads when you're like, okay, this is what Jesus has to offer. Is this what I want? This is what the world has to offer. Is this what I want? And one thing that I'd love to share with our ladies is, I think a lot of times, or really our guys too, if you're raised in church like I was, a lot of times we think there's a middle road and we can kind of do a little Jesus, do a little world, see which one we like better. But the problem is, and I can tell you this with complete 100% assurance, there really is no middle road. It really just runs parallel to what the world and what the devil has to offer. And I can tell you, I've seen it so many times that within 1 to 3 to 5 years max, it is intersected with what the world has to offer. And Jesus, this road over here is no longer an interest or even a topic in your life. So for me, I would say that is the biggest obstacle at this point in all of our lives. That, do you want what Jesus has? Do you want what the world has to offer? And allowing the Lord to show you what this road will take you down leads to just negative and comparison, and I mean, just seeing all of the things that the devil technically has to offer, the world has to offer, brings you down a path you really don't want. A lot of remorse, a lot of regret. And you guys that have ever been to camp or at our services or whatever, and that was me as a teenager too, I couldn't forget the times I'd had in God's presence that rocked my world. I couldn't forget those times in worship where I felt Him. And so that's the road that I wanted. And that's a huge obstacle, that it's like, this is it. And I don't want that, even when I feel that pull. So that was a huge obstacle for me. really the big one, that there's no turning back. So awesome stuff. Um, let's go to this one, and Miss Erin, will have you share. This is a really good one though, so I'd love to hear probably from both of you, if not all of us. What is the most important thing you can do as a teenage girl right now to grow spiritually? What is something that you can do right now to grow and not just be stagnant or stay with, you know, whatever the world has to offer? Miss Erin, what would you say the most important thing a teenage girl can do right now?
For me, and you kind of touched on this a little bit in the previous question, Pam, that you know what God has given you, and you know that path, and you know what it looks like to not be on that path. And
Mhm.
for me, the biggest thing is finding people in your life that you're like, you're on the right path, you're on that godly path. You know what you want to be, and you want to be that person. Not saying that you're making them an idol in your life or you're making them be everything, because obviously that's not the case. We're all struggling. But I want to be that good Christian wife. I want to be that good Christian mom. I want to be that good Christian person. And I think that is what we really need to focus on as being a teenager, is focusing on the people who you want to be and going in that same path as them. Obviously, if you want to be a good mom one day and a good wife one day, you're not going to be, doing these crazy stuff, and you're not going to be doing all these, wildish things with guys when you're a teenager. And it is very easy to do that, especially right now, how easy it is, and how accessible it all is, just with technology and with your friendships and with how school is, and how just in general, how it is so easy. But knowing what you want to be one day really does direct you where you want to be, like
Mm.
at the end of it all. And so I think the biggest thing is really just having a good mentor in your life, and having good people that you surround yourself with, whether it's the same age, whether it's a little bit older, but just in general, good, strong Christian people in your life. I think that's the biggest thing that you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes the Christian walk was not made to walk alone. Absolutely. Good stuff. Miss Sabrina, what would you like to add anything to that? The most important thing a teenage girl can do right now to grow in the Lord?
When you were asking that question, God told me boundaries. And with that, when I say boundaries, most people would think, oh, for a girl, that means boundaries with the guys. And yeah, that is definitely part of it. But boundaries could also mean with just your normal friendships that you have with people. What's that line that you're not willing to cross? If you have a friend that is just brings you down, and bring all this negativity, you need to have a boundary and be like, hey, I need to step back and grow. That may mean taking a break. That may mean just just getting in your word more and more, praying, and just having those boundaries with people, so that you know when to say no. You know when to say, I need to step back. And when so you don't cross those boundaries and get into a way that that's going to bring you down in life. You're doing things that you didn't think you were going to do, but now you're doing it because you crossed that boundary. You need to have those limits in your life so that you can grow as a person of God.
Awesome. And those two go in together so well, because we don't always hold to our boundaries perfectly all by ourselves, but you have the mentors, like Miss Erin said, that help, the people that are going to push you forward in Christ, that are going to have the tough conversations. And sometimes it can be your parents. Sometimes they're not there, even if they're godly people. And so, and for all of you guys listening or watching this even later, remember, that's what Liberty Church, that's what 5979, that's what your leaders and the three of us are there for, is to help be that mentor that can help steer you away. And Miss Sabrina, what you said was great too, to have boundaries in every area of your life. That's not legalism and difficult. That's common sense, that you want to make decisions that don't, like you said, Miss Erin, looking down the road. If you want to be a good wife, well, you're not gonna get there if you do a whole bunch of terrible things right now. You guys know, if you want to, make it to college and have this particular job, then you can't just forget high school. It's the healthy boundaries that, yes, it takes discipline, and yes, it takes encouragement from other people. So awesome stuff. I would just add to that, just remember, ladies, we are so good at forgetting that we're really in a war, and it's not flesh and blood. It's not these people doing this or this person doing this. It is Jesus versus the enemy. And there is a tug of war, and we are right in the middle with the choice to go either way. I kind of always picture it, like with a tug of war, when, the one team is on this side, the other team's on this side, there's just rope across the middle. But I see us, and specifically we're talking to females, I see us holding on to both sides of the rope. And when we're feeling the pull of the world a little stronger, we're letting it take us that way, or if we're just like letting it take us that way. So we have to remember we are in a war, an all-out war for our soul. And which one are we going to let win? Who are we going to let grow us? Because we're going to grow one way or the other. And so just to constantly remember that we have the choice every day, every decision we make, choosing Jesus or choosing the devil. And sometimes we forget and we just make these choices and we don't think they really affect everything. And they absolutely do. So good stuff. They can grow spiritually by choosing boundaries, and by finding some mentors to really encourage them. Good stuff. Good stuff. Let me check. No other questions. Hi, David. Hi, Marcus. I love to have the fellas on here too. It's important for you to know what a woman of God looks like. Okay, let's talk about what are some different challenges that women face that men may not quite understand. Miss Erin, how about you start us off on that one? What are some things that we face as women that maybe men don't quite get? It's just a different perspective.
Honestly, there's a ton. Like, I was really thinking about it, and I was like, I could go in any direction. I could be, men don't have to deal with being pregnant. Men don't have to deal with the standards of being, wearing makeup and looking presentable. Men don't have to deal with the fact that women have to walk down the street almost like on edge because there's a guy behind them at night. Like, there's a lot of different things that us as women go through that I feel like is not talked about a lot, or that men maybe understand, or they can gather information, but they don't know what it is emotionally to go through that. And the biggest thing that I really feel that men don't understand is just the standards when it comes to appearance. Whether it is, putting makeup on when you're 12 years old, or because you just don't feel pretty, or you don't feel beautiful because some guy in your class made fun of you for the way you look, or not being able to just roll out of bed. I love my husband. Don't get me wrong. And I respect this, and I wish I could be like this one time, but he can roll out of bed, literally get ready in 10-15 minutes and walk out the door, and he's perfect. Right. And I'm over here nope, I need 30 minutes. I don't need long. I really don't. But I'm I need 30-45 minutes. I got to brush my hair. I got to, put makeup on. I got to put the right outfit on, because people will ask if I'm okay if I don't look presentable. And I think that's so hard to understand. I don't need to wear makeup, but I feel like I do in a way, because people will ask me, "Oh, are you okay? Are you sick? What's wrong with you? Why don't you look like you normally do?" And I'm I just didn't feel like putting makeup on. I just didn't want to do it today. Yeah. And that's all that's wrong. But it's somehow, some way, people really do think if a girl does not look presentable, they're, one, not taken as seriously, or two, they just are sick, or there's something wrong with them, or they're not okay for whatever day that is. And that's the biggest thing that I'm just I don't understand how men can just roll out of bed, and I can't. Most girls can't. Yeah. And that's hard. And I think that's something that is getting more, it's becoming more aware, that in the younger generation, you're feeling the pressure. I would feel the pressure when I was in middle school, 15 years old. Now girls 12, 13 are feeling the pressure of that. And it's just getting younger and younger. And I feel like we as a generation, men and women, need to stand together, and we need to help with those beauty standards, because they really are changing, and they're altering the way women are perceived and women are taken seriously. So.
Yeah, that's Super, super true. I will just throw in a slight interjection for your husband and for mine that may roll out of bed and be ready in a couple minutes. They don't have hair to contend with. So
That's
let me
true.
just put that one out there.
Very true.
I dare say probably Pastor Leo takes just a smidge longer. I don't know. I could be wrong. Pastor Tony probably a little bit himself too. No, I'm just teasing. But that is true, because there is a societal norm that we've placed on women, that, you know, just dealing with that and navigating it as a woman of God, saying, this does not define me. I will not let it define me, nor will I let the world change me and tell me I have to live by their standards. But it's still something that we have to face. Good stuff. I would add to that emotions. And ladies, actually real quick, I wrote down all the awesome, Carrington, Angelina, Jessica, Camille, Kennedy, and Fomi, welcome. I see all these comments on here. So welcome, ladies. And of course, all the guys that are on here too. But let's not forget, ladies, that I looked it up just again today. Genesis 1:27 says, in the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. So sometimes, ladies, we forget that we too are created in the image of God. Absolutely every bit as much as a guy is. So the things that we have are facets of God's character. So we may be a little bit more emotional sometimes. Some ladies aren't. I understand that. Some men are very emotional, but the kind of the mainstream women are known to be a little bit more emotional. But God is an emotional God. He feels strongly for his people. He's a jealous God, meaning he wants us to stay away from what the world has, because he knows that it doesn't have the best in mind for us. So he is full of emotion, love, and joy, and even anger towards the things that keep us from him. So sometimes when we're facing these things, let's not forget that God himself knows our struggles as well. He is not up there in malehood, if you will. He transcends male versus female. We give him a he because, it sounds terrible, but God is so much bigger, and he is we are made perfectly in his image, just as men are. So the things that we face, he totally understands and has faced as well. So good stuff. Miss Sabrina, just throw out that to you, different challenges that women face, if you had anything to add on to that.
Well, definitely with what you said, PM, about emotions. Females just process emotions differently than men. There's nothing wrong with that. We're not better. It's just different. When I get mad, sometimes I get teary-eyed, and I'm like, I feel so weak. Yeah. When I do cry, when I'm mad, I'm just like, no, this is just how I process my emotions. It's okay. I'm okay. This is how God made me. And I'm not weak in that sense. Right. And I feel like a lot of women, especially nowadays, like, we got to be tough, and, nothing wrong with, standing your ground or whatever. But, sometimes when that tear falls, you're like, oh no, I'm losing it. It's just natural.
Yeah. Which is
this is how we are. Even if men were to cry, that does not make them weak. That does not make them less of a person.
She's freezing on us.
Just how God made us. And like you said, because we are in that image, like, it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I love when you look at scripture, everybody knows the shortest verse in the whole Bible, right? Everybody's heard it. Jesus wept. And what was he weeping over? He was weeping over Jerusalem. He had the full end in sight. He knows everything that's going to happen. He also cried when Lazarus died, but he knew he was going to resurrect him. Like, okay, but so why are you crying? Well, because he felt it. He felt those real raw emotions and couldn't help but cry that his friend had died, even though he was about to, boom, bring this guy back to life. So exactly. Remember that, guys, or ladies specifically, that when we feel those things, when we turn them to Jesus, man, it's totally a facet of him. It's not a lesser or it's just different. Like you said, Miss Sabrina, it's not better, it's not worse. It's different because we're both made in the image of God. And so he has different facets of himself in us as females than he does through the guy. So awesome stuff, ladies. Love it. Love it. Love it. Don't think we've had any questions yet, but we've had a lot of comments. They're going crazy on their what they do with their hair and whatnot. So good stuff. Pastor Daniel, I probably cry more than Aaron.
Not wrong.
Y'all are hilarious. Y'all are hilarious. I definitely cry more than PS, but that's because the man's a brick. He's my rock. Okay. Here's another really good one that we've covered a little bit, but I'd love to give it just a second too. How do you find your identity in God? What are struggles that women specifically face in finding this? So how do we find our identity in God when all of these things try to pull us, in other directions, caring too much about what you look, or, all of these different things? How do we find our identity in God? I guess I'll jump in on this one. My biggest encouragement, of anything you guys want to tag on would be great. My biggest thing would be press into him. I mean, with everything. I keep thinking about how, you can eat a bunch of junk food, and we all know that that will affect how you feel, how you look, gaining weight, all of that kind of stuff. And you could just tag on a vitamin and maybe a little healthy smoothie in the morning. And that's decent. But that's like you've changed your diet 2%. So you've got 2% good stuff working for you, but 98% junk. And we wonder how we're supposed to navigate all of these things when we give maybe 2 minutes to the Lord a day, a quick little prayer before we eat that maybe we didn't even actually think about God, or just, I love this one, it's great to get in the word, and that's awesome, like your little vitamin or your little smoothie. But if it's just I read my chapter, check, it's not going to transform the entire way that you think. We need to renew our mind. And you don't renew your mind by 10 seconds a day. You renew your mind by changing your mindset. I will tell you guys, this morning, I was listening to where I blasted some worship music, and my entire brain, I had kids whining, commotion, all kinds of chaos going on, but it still was just that, oh, Jesus, I need you so much. And for me, when I go a couple of days without that, I feel it. I feel dry. I feel, not as alert, not as awake to things of the Lord. So that would be my biggest thing. If you want to find your identity, you will find it in what you spend the most time in. So if that is Netflix, you can be a woman of Netflix. You can be a woman of, whatever what music you listen to. But if you want to be a woman of God, you got to spend that time with him. And it's not a legalistic, oh my gosh, I've got to do this. It's I want to, because he changes me, and all those things, like Miss Sabrina, when you were talking about struggling with depression because of comparison. When we spend 2 hours on our phone scrolling through whatever social media platform, of course you're going to jump into that and struggle with identity and struggle with your identity as a woman of God. You gotta shut it down and press into Jesus, whatever that looks like. If you're a journaler, if you're a worshiper, I like sermons, reading books, there are so many great sources that you can press into. And then of course, just your own quiet time with him. So good stuff. Sabrina, you touched on this, Miss Sabrina, but let's jump in that a little bit more. As a woman of God, how did you and how do you handle the social pressures and societal standards placed on women specifically?
Ooh, all right. So this, with comparison, something I still struggle with. So when it comes to like physical looks, that is a huge struggle. Before I got married, I was a certain weight, and then for almost 4 years later, I am about 20 pounds heavier. And just being real here, it's
You still look great.
thanks. That was quite a shock for me, and especially because I grew up in a family where every woman was very, very petite, even post kids. And I don't have any kids, and I weighed more than them. And it was one of those, it was kind of a shock for me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I started feeling ugly, and like just, I would wake up, look in the mirror, kind of look at my flaws, quote, they're not really flaws, because this is just my body and this is how I'm changing, and comes with age, comes with my job, my diet, and everything that affects its stress levels. And it's one of those, it's hard to come to terms with, I'm still wonderfully made. I am beautiful because God made me beautiful. It's one of those, God created me, so there's no such thing as ugly because God created me. It's
Right.
one of those, I look back, when I was in early college years and I was 98 pounds. That was not healthy. That was very, very unhealthy. I would skip meals. I would exercise like crazy just to be under 100. Well, now here I am, way over. And it's one of those I'm like, I could go back and starve myself or eat healthy, exercise regularly, but not crazily. And even if I never go back to 98 pounds, I don't want to. Even if I don't go back to that weight number, that perfect weight number, I'm okay. I'm still healthy. I'm still living a full life. And society, you see on the magazines, like, hey, this celebrity is going to tell you how she lost weight after she had her first child and blah, 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 blah. And it's kind of like, you don't forget that this person is a millionaire, so they can afford the personal trainers, they can afford the personal chefs, they can afford the personal stylists that make them look great all the time and such like that. I don't have that money. Well, don't dream of that money. But where I am now, I see that I have so much to be thankful for, even aside from all those societal pressures, that I am okay with who I am.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, when our focus is in what others have to say about us or anything, and not throwing ourselves, that's what I said, press into Jesus, it's easy to get your focus off. And when your focus is off, it's whatever pops into your head. And for women, it is frequently comparison or looks. And yet we know that Proverbs 31, that talks all about this woman of massive character and worth, that it says charm is deceitful and beauty is fleeting. We all know that. Some actress from the 1930s that was so beautiful, she's either not around anymore or she's pretty old looking. Beauty is such an outward concept that we put way too much value in. So good stuff. It's a real social pressure or societal standard. But when we turn our focus and let that tug of war game go completely towards Jesus, man, and you hear what he has to say about you, you realize you're a woman of God, made in his image, then those things just get a little bit more dim. On that, let's talk about social media just for a smidge. One of our awesome staff guys asked, how can I use social media in a way that honors the Lord and honors myself? And I think this is a great question, because again, when we're dealing with this tug of war, and even when you want to be a woman of God, this is the path you want, you can see that future, living it out day to day can be that challenge where you're like, oh, but everybody's doing this, but everybody's doing that. So would either of you guys like to jump in? And I've got something to say about this too. Using your social media in a way that honors the Lord versus not honoring the Lord. Anyone care to touch on that for a moment?
I can say a couple things.
Go for it.
Because for me, I don't post a lot on social media. I'm not one that will post 10 photos back to back to back. I'm not gonna lie, I did. And especially I did during high school years, because for me, I was very insecure. I was very depressed. I was very insecure with the way I looked, and I did not have I did not have a strong male father. And so that played a lot into the roles of going on social media. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I did a lot of things to get attention from the opposite sex. I did a lot of things to get attention, even from the same sex, just other girls saying, oh my gosh, I'm so pretty. Oh my gosh, you're beautiful. Like, I would do certain things and I would dishonor myself. I would, in the future, dishonor my husband because I was posting photos that did not honor what God created. I did not keep things for me in private. I did not keep things for what would be my husband one day. I showed a lot of things on social media, and I'm just talking physically. I did not post a ton. I did not, do the crazy stuff that some girls would do or celebrities would do, but I took that boundary in my life, like what you were saying, Sabrina. I took that boundary in my life and I crossed it. I wanted attention from other people. So I was like, well, this is how everybody else is doing it. So I'm going to cross that line and the boundary that I set in place to get attention. And so like I would really do things because I wanted the attention. And I probably would have still been doing it if I didn't have strong women in my life saying, I know why you're doing this. And I know you're not going to really learn until you figure it out yourself. But I has been there maybe a couple of years sooner than you, want to show you this is not good. This is not okay. The reason why you're getting the attention is because you're doing something that does not protect yourself and that does not show the woman of God that you were called to be and that you are. Like in Ephesians 2:10, I had this drilled in my head like literally all the time. It says, "For we are God's masterpiece." Like just straight, "For we are God's masterpiece." And then it goes on to, saying that, good things that he's planned for us, yada, yada, yada. But like the first part is we are God's masterpiece. And I did not catch that as soon as I wanted to. And looking back, I'm like, I'm so dumb. Like I should have just learned it way sooner. But I needed that. I needed to, in a way, cross that boundary for me to realize I never want to do that again. And then for me to realize how I can help other people, how I can help my friends or my younger, like little sisters in my life that are doing the same thing just for the attention. And for me, I want to empower, people my age or people older to not be afraid to talk to people that are posting stuff on social media. I think that's the biggest thing, especially guys. I feel like guys are like, hey, that's not okay, that's not good, blah, 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 blah. But like, they don't want to say it to them because they're uncomfortable. And there's a way to do it. And I really want to encourage you to do that because people need that. People don't realize, especially young girls, they don't realize what they're doing. Or they do, but they don't understand it completely. And so that's the biggest thing, is just you're God's masterpiece and just focus on that. You are God's masterpiece, no matter what.
I love it. That was so well said, that you're God's masterpiece. And, going along with that, one verse that I always really love and didn't really understand younger, but 1 Corinthians 6, where it says your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. But it goes on to say, you're not your own. Women of God, you're not your own. You are of God. You were bought at the highest price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. And Miss Erin, I love that you shared that your motivation was insecurity and attention. And I think that hits it for any female out there that is posting, tons of selfies. And let's just say, ones that get a little, okay, so it's about the come hither look. It's about a little bit more of your body. We don't need 25 bikini shots. We don't need any. And let me just share this, ladies, because I am the last person to harp on ladies because I love you so much. But I do want you to see, like what Miss Erin said, that you're a masterpiece and that you're not honoring God or yourself or your future spouse because, 1 Corinthians says, be careful that the exercise of your rights does not become a stumbling block. And we're really quick to, and I'll let the guys tackle that one all day long. I know a lot of girls have the argument of, oh, well, nobody ever talks to the guys. They always just, girls dress right so that guys aren't struggling. Here's the thing. I'll let the guys talk to the guys and say, hey, you need to be a man of God. You need to look away. You need to blah, blah, blah. Absolutely. I am not giving men a license to do whatever. But as a female, I can talk to the ladies and say, do we love our brothers or do we love ourselves more? Because if you look at the best verse in the entire, the best chapter on love, 1 Corinthians 13, love is kind. It does not boast. It is not proud. It doesn't dishonor others. It is not self-seeking, which I believe when you say you're doing it for attention or because you're insecure and you're hoping to get that, I'm pretty. It's not self-seeking. It always protects. Ladies, we are called to protect our guys. Here's the thing. I am married to a man of high integrity. Miss Sabrina is married to a man of high integrity. Miss Erin is married to a man of high integrity. And I do not appreciate it as a woman to know that my guy has to avert his eyes because some other female decides she's going to just dress however. He is walking in purity and integrity like nobody's business. But still, there are a lot of ladies that decide, I'm just going to do what I feel like doing because I have the right to. Okay, sure, you have the right to, but do you love your brothers enough to not be a stumbling block? Or even, I'm sorry, in this day and age, ladies that are struggling. And my fervent plea would be, love yourself, love God, and love your brothers enough that you're not trying to, all of you ladies want a guy that has eyes for only you. No girl wants to date some guy who's looking around at everybody. So don't be that person who they might be looking at because you decided, oh, I just want my shirt a little lower, or, oh, let me show half of my, all my legs, or, all of these different things. Love yourself more than that, and love your future spouse more than that. And beyond all of it, love God and who he's created you to be, to know. And you ladies will notice, I will like everybody's post. I will like your pictures, but the second it's, I stay off because that's just a struggle for me, because I love you so much. And like Miss Erin said so beautifully, you are God's masterpiece. And so walk like that, walk with that authority and that confidence. And when you struggle with that authority and that confidence, don't turn to TikTok and Instagram, turn to those ladies you've placed in your life. And if you don't have any, pick one of us, all of us, whatever, and have that accountability, because it is so important to fight what everybody else is doing. Everybody else is doing that. So how can I do differently? Well, you can. Let me tell you, I'm here to tell you that you can do it differently and get that awesome view of yourself that the Lord has, and get that man of God that as a woman of God you would desire. So awesome stuff. Anything else to add to that, Miss Sabrina, or shall we move on?
I think you guys covered it all.
We chatted a bit. So we are about to wrap up here. Let's end with, we'll have a little 30-second blurb from everybody. Anything you guys want to share at the end, but let's end with what are some things that I should guard myself against as a woman? Specific things, sins, temptations, thoughts, purity. Miss Sabrina, what would you say are some things that you should guard yourself against, specifically because you're a woman?
I'll just go back to it, the whole comparison game, really. Once it starts, it's almost like a cancer. It just eats away at your soul. And my goodness, the Bible has so much. It tells us everything about ourselves that we should look towards. It tells us that, one, we are wonderfully made. We are masterpiece. We are the child of God. That means we are royalty.
Woo.
Girls, don't let no boy, don't let no person that you see on social media, don't let no celebrity knock off your crown. Pick that crown back up, put it on your head, and move forward. Forget all that comparison. Trust me, I know it is awful. You don't want to live like that. Girls, just understand that you have so much to offer. Even if you are not the most popular person in your class, though, I mean, I guess classes are a little bit different now with virtual, but within school or in any environment, if you're not the most popular, that's okay. That's okay. Guess what? That popularity will end eventually. High school will end eventually. School will end eventually. And then you're in your adulthood for the rest of your life. High school is only this much of your life. Don't dwell on that. All right. Just remember that God made you so, so, so beautiful and so, so, so special that you don't need to look at anyone else. No one else.
Amen. One thing, when you've mentioned comparison a couple times, it's like God is an individualized God. Like he knows the number of hair you have on your head, right? So he knows everything about Sabrina. He knows everything about Erin. He knows everything about Micheline. So why would I think that his gifts for me would mimic somebody else's, right? So I'm over here looking at Sabrina saying, I wish I had this, and I wish I had this, and I wish I had that, getting caught up in comparison, that dirty, vicious cycle, like you said, at cancer. And God's over here like, I have this for you. Come back to me and know that I'm your source, because all this stuff you're worried about or comparing, I have so much better, and it's packaged specifically for you, but you're letting your focus get off because we listening to all the things that the world has to say. That's awesome. Know that he has packaged something specifically for you that nobody else has. A lot of times we can do that, even in like Christianity. Like, forget the world, we can do that in Christianity. Oh, I wish I was a worshiper like him or her. Oh, I wish I could preach like that. Like, no, God has called you to be who he's called you to be, not like this person, not like this person, because you will miss out on some awesome opportunities that he has for you because you're too busy looking at other people and not keeping your eyes fixed on Jesus, which is what we're talking about here today. Keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. So good stuff. Miss Erin, would you just close us out with your 30-second blurb of just anything you'd like to kind of make sure that we wrap up today before we close?
I would say the biggest takeaway is just know that you're not alone in all of this. At some point, us three and literally every other single girl on this planet has gone through some sort of insecurity, has had some sort of comparison game in their head, has been probably where you have been at some point in their life. And so I just want you to know that us three, 100%, I'm speaking on behalf of them, but we are here to help you. We are willing to talk to you. We're willing to walk by your side and face those trials with you, because it really does take an army, and it is not like, especially comparison in mind games, if you're doing it alone, it's so much harder to deal with, and it's so much more of a struggle than having at least one other person work with you and help you realize that you really are God's masterpiece, and that he really is the King of all kings, and he knows everything about you, and he's designed you, and he's made you. And that is what this is all about. We love you, and we want to be with you and stand by you with everything that you guys are going through.
Amen. Good stuff, Miss Erin. Thank you. Miss Sabrina.
All right, guys. Honestly, this has been great. I'm so glad I did this. But the main takeaway from all of this is, girls, stay strong in your walk with Christ. And that sounds, such a, abstract thing to say, but at the same time, God has laid out a plan for your life, and God is not going to let you down. So with that, don't distrust him. He's going to take care of you. Don't worry about your future, because God's got your back. Stay strong in his word. Stay strong in your prayer life. Stay strong with your walk. Don't let anything, don't let school, don't let people, don't let anything knock you from that course that you're walking on right now. God is going to lead you every step of the way. So just trust in him.
Amen. Well, thank you, ladies. This was awesome. I want to share one quick thing, because as we've all been sharing, we're here for you, ladies. We love you so much. I know you fellows know that you have your Pastor Stefan and Pastor Leo and Pastor Daniel and Pastor Tony, but we ladies are here for you too. And I've been processing something for a while that I've been wanting to start, and I'm gonna be rolling it out here soon. But the second Thursday of every month, so it'll be starting October, and we'll send out emails, and it'll be on social media and all that. We're gonna start a dialogue for senior high ladies, but it will be at the church, like in the youth building, from 6:30 to 8:30 on the second Thursdays, because we want to go deeper. We want to talk about, we want a safe space for you guys to grow, to talk, to question, and to dialogue about these topics further, because we know we scratched the surface. There's so many areas and venues we could go further, we could go deeper. So just keep that in mind, that we will be having a ladies specific dialogue at the church on second Thursdays, and it's going to be really good. Just to dialogue further, not a preachy style, around like a circle, talking with one another and growing our faith together. So being those women of God that you are created and designed and called to be. So we love all of you ladies so much. We love you guys too, but we love you ladies. Have an awesome week. And like Miss Sabrina said, keep that crown, daughter of the Most High King, straight up on that head. Pursue him, press into him. We love you, and we're here for you. Have an awesome week. Blessings.
Bye.